here once again to be part of this wonderful conference. My name is Eva, and I'm the Director for Research for Leaders of Africa. I'm so happy to be part of this program and also share my knowledge about data visualization, especially using Tableau. So I look forward to the section, and I also look forward to answering your questions about data visualization and analysis. Thank you.
Which brings us to a really key point. Today's session is interactive. So it means that we're going to be using that chat. So obviously, please open up your chat box and also feel free to raise your hand at any point during today's session. There are going to be some points where we're going to actually have a little bit of discussion or feedback as we look at good visualizations using Tableau, pointing out some of the strong points as well as the areas of improvement. So we're going to have that interaction today. So I really encourage you again to open up that chat box and to be ready to share your thoughts, and feel free to raise your hand at any point. We are watching for that as well. In addition to that, I want to drop a few links into the chat as we are beginning today's session. And those links are to a couple of different opportunities. And I'll talk more about these at the very end of today's program. So I've provided some links to the Leaders of Africa Institute and some opportunities, but I just want to briefly mention them here at the beginning because some may not be able to join us for today's full session. So I'll just put that on the screen. So we have an upcoming program called Data and Design for Development. And this program is going to be beginning in January, and applications are due in January. And it covers 4 different visualization platforms. We talked about Datawrapper yesterday. We're talking about Tableau today, but this program also includes Microsoft Power BI and Flourish, and it includes creating your own capstone project under the mentorship of a data visualization expert. We are happy to announce that we are offering 3 full impact scholarships for this program for those of you who attended this conference. And so on the application, you'll have to note that you attended the Africa Digital Skills Conference to be able to get that full scholarship. And the cohorts are very small. So you may see some programs that talk about bringing in 200, 300, 400, 500 folks into one program. These programs are small because it focuses on that personal mentorship. And I, again, engage you. I ask you to become engaged with the Institute, and I provided some links in the chat. So that is a little bit of background. We're going to jump right into our content today. I'm going to put myself on the camera here, and Eva's going to join us when we jump into Tableau. So let's begin. So I want to start off with a little bit of data visualization basics to begin today's session. And why do we visualize is maybe a question you may be wondering. Obviously, some of you are here because you're familiar with data visualization or interested in general, but we have to really understand why we're visualizing, because the purpose of visualization drives the design decisions as well as the data analytics decisions that we're making with any sort of visualization. So the first thing is, more and more, we're getting access to larger and what we might call big data sets. And big data may mean a lot of things to many people. It may mean 10,000 observations. It may mean 100,000 observations. It may be over 1 million observations. Myself, as a researcher, I work in any number of those categories in terms of the amount of observations or amount of data there. It's taking that amount of observations, we have to distill that in ways that we can make sense of it, which leads to the second reason we visualize data, is that we want to analyze that data to help us learn about what that data is telling us and ultimately help us make some key decisions on the basis of data. You obviously have heard the discussions around evidence-based decision-making or data-based design and decision-making. That's what we're talking about here. The third thing we may want to do with data and why we visualize it is to convey useful information to a broader range of stakeholders. As we're going to be talking about today, a lot of folks that we interact with, think about your parents in this category, may not work in the data space, but at the same time, we oftentimes want to communicate to those broad audiences something, right? It may be issues that we're going to be talking about today, such as water access or issues of education. Well, could be a lot of different things. It could be business decisions, but we want to be able to convey that information in a useful way to a broad audience. And we got to think creatively on how to do that. And the final thing is to help us translate information into different geographical and intricate forms and graphical forms. And so that's why we visualize data. Now, in visualizing data, we have a lot of tools. And I'm going to assume some of you are familiar with some of these tools already. R and Python. Those are two platforms that we use in data science that are taught here at the Leaders of Africa Institute in our research methods program. They're really good for analyzing data as well as creating data visualizations. This third one is Tableau, and that's what we're talking about here today. But there's also Microsoft Power BI. In fact, I saw a session here at the Digital Skills Conference about Power BI. There's also Excel, SAS, Flourish, Datawrapper, Canva, which is more of a data sort of graphics design platform, but it has some infographics, some data visualization features built in, Infogram, and the list goes on. Now we realize that there are a lot of tools for doing this. Today's session is really focusing in on one of those tools. But at the same time as we're focusing on one of those tools, we're going to be talking about really key design elements that we may be interested in. So let's talk about why we're talking about Tableau and one of these tools. That is the focus of today's session, but also one of the 4 platforms we teach in the Data Plus Design for Development program here at the Institute. Well, the first reason is it's popular. It's used for creating data analytics across a number of different sectors, both public sector, NGO sector, private sector. They're using Tableau to do data analytics work. And more than that, Tableau has the ability to shape and do some basic data transformations and calculations to help us communicate our data. So some data platforms are just about taking data that you already have and creating a figure. Tableau actually has features, some of which we'll explore today, but many of which you'll explore if you get into the program, that allow you to shape the data in interesting ways, add equations, transformations, things of this nature. So it's very flexible. Other strengths that Tableau has is that it's easy to use. It's easy to get started. It's also free to use in Tableau Public, which we're going to be using today. So you're going to be able to follow along with us. Second thing is that it creates interactive visualizations, one that you can hover on, or stories, or experience, or what we could call data experiences. You can do all of that in Tableau. It's easy to learn. Today's going to provide some of the foundations, but to really get to learn a lot of these visualization platforms, you're going to have to practice above and beyond what we talked about today. There's no need for hard coding, but if you want to code to create those beautiful visualizations, you can do that. Again, flexibility. And the last thing to really emphasize here is that it allows for live updating. We're going to talk about some pointers of how you think about live updating in your data visualization projects today, because many of you will want to take data from a source that's always being updated, pipe that data into your visualization, and then display it. Governments are doing that all the time. Think about election results. The United States is where the Leaders of Africa Institute is based, just had an election yesterday. They had all these data dashboards, data visualizations working to explain the election results as they're coming in. That's what we mean by live updating data. And then finally, Tableau is used by widely recognized international organizations, including here at the Leaders of Africa and the Leaders of Africa Institute, Lenovo, which is a manufacturer of semiconductor manufacturer, computer manufacturer, Lufthansa, an airline, Nissan, a car company. It runs the gambit. The key players are using Tableau. And many of the other key players who aren't using Tableau are using Microsoft Power BI. So it's a great place to learn Tableau or Power BI as well, because these are two of the prominent tools in the data visualization space. Although, as I mentioned, there are many. So I want to start off by explaining the different Tableaus, the different faces of Tableau, right? So we may have said it's Tableau, but there are several Tableaus, right? And that's because Tableau, the company, offers different products. There is Tableau Desktop. Tableau Desktop is a paid-for application. So companies oftentimes pay for their workers to have Tableau Desktop, right? And that allows you to connect to unlimited numbers of sources and have a lot of different types of boutique integrations and customizations. That's Tableau Desktop. It's a paid-for version of Tableau. The second face or version of Tableau is Tableau Public. That is what we're going to be using today because we want you to be able to experiment it and leave today's sessions ready to create some nice visualizations. So that's Tableau Public. It's free, but you can connect to only a limited form of data sources. But I'm going to show you that it actually has some great range to it. Tableau Online is basically a version of Tableau that's hosted wholly in the cloud versus Tableau Public and desktop you download on your computer, which is a good thing because it allows you to do some work offline, whereas Tableau Online is a web app that you use, right? Then you have Tableau Server and Tableau Prep, and these are more tools that are going to be used for data shaping, data storage that allow you to, enhance and perfect that workflow. We're not going to be talking about server or prep today, but if you're interested in data transformations and things of this nature, advanced forms of that, that's what you're going to want to look into is Tableau Prep. And then Tableau Management is another sort of comprehensive piece of the ecosystem, right? So the point here is, if you go to Tableau's website, you're going to see all of these faces of Tableau. But you need to know which face you're really in when you're working with it, right? And today, as it shows highlighted on the screen, we're going to be focusing on Tableau Public, right? All right. So it's a little bit of background in data visualization. Let's see what Tableau can do and talk about some basic design principles before I hand it over to Eva, who's going to begin us in a demonstration of Tableau in which we're going to share some data with you that you can follow along. Now, one of the biggest things in data visualization in design, as we're going to see, and we mentioned this yesterday, so if you're joining us from the yesterday session, we also talked about this, is choosing the right figure that fits the data. There's so much data that is out there, but there are good forms of data representations or figures that we may use for what we're doing, and there are ones that are less relevant, right? I see sometimes where people are using a line graph like this for things where they're explaining, the results of elections across countries, right? Countries are discrete countries, so they should be in more of a bar orientation, whereas a line graph shows trends over time. You can't show trends over country, right? Because they're in different space and they're out of alphabetical order, so on and so forth, right? But you'd be surprised how many people do that. They try and superimpose a form or a figure on a data set that doesn't fit. So it's one of the things we're going to be looking at as we're in Tableau is how does this fit some of the data that we're using? And today we're going to be using some real COVID-19 data that shows us different types of things that Tableau will allow us to do in the platform. Now, at the same time as we may say the figure needs to match the data set, something that we're going to talk more about, we can also have our favorite charts. So I want you to open up your chat because, again, we're getting into a little bit of that interactive component here, just easing into it. And I want to ask you, what are your favorite chart types to use if you were to use them? Which are the chart types that you find most useful if you've done data visualization, or if you haven't done data visualization, you would assume would be more useful for some of the projects you're interested in. So drop those in the chat, choose 3. So whether it's a bar chart, a line chart, box chart, a area chart, scatter plot, or any others that you may think of, maybe a map or a heat map on top of a map, share those in the chat. So I'm going to give you a second to share those. What are your sort of favorite charts here that your go-to charts? Linda says bar chart and line chart. All right. Burley says bar chart, histogram. Florence, area chart. Area charts are quite elegant as well. We're gonna look at that a little bit today. All right. Any others? Your favorite types of chart or your go-to charts? And it's okay to say it's just a line graph or just a bar chart. In fact, those are some of my favorites because they work in a lot of different data scenarios. And they oftentimes keep things uncomplicated. Yao says bar charts. The trusty old bar charts. But there, again, when you look at bar charts, there are different types of them, right? Split bar, ones that add up to 100%, ones that don't. So bar charts got a lot of latitude there. Miriam says bar chart, heat map, pie chart. Pie chart. Ooh, we got pie chart in there. Pie charts are really good, but they're also one of the more difficult ones to work with, or the confusing ones. I've seen so many times where people have put bar charts where countries are the slices of the pie, but the pie doesn't add up to 100%. So one of the key hints I have for today's session is be very careful with pie charts. Make sure what you're showing in your visualizations are parts of a whole rather than just showing different parts that don't necessarily comprise a whole. So pie charts are really cool, but be cautious with them too. Sylvia says bar chart, line graph, a scatter plot, and I see Florence has added in her comments to everyone there, heat map and line graph, adding to the area chart before. Great. We all have our favorite figures that we like to use, but at the end of the day, it's not necessarily all the time what we like, but what will best communicate our story in the data. All right. So let's take a look at some different charts that Tableau does. We're going to take a look at some dashboards. And I'm going to do a little bit of marking up on our tablet here in the studio as well as we start to think about design choices before we jump into Tableau. So here's a scatter plot. This is one scatter plot. Scatter plot is showing life expectancy versus GDP per capita, but it's also showing the size, which is also referring to other factors here. I believe population as well. So you can see that the big bubbles here refer to the most populous countries like a China or the United States or Bangladesh, so on and so forth, right? So this one's communicating a lot. It's a bubble plot on the basis of a scatter plot, right? This is one in Tableau. You can see some countries are missing, some countries are not, but this is just an image. As I'm going to show you in Tableau, you can hover over it. You can create what we call tooltips for further communication. We also have maps. Here's a heat map of the GDP growth rate. GDP is the growth of the economy or the size of the economy, and you want it going up, up, up and quickly. And that's what will make citizens feel happy about what the government's doing in their economy. So this is from 2019, the GDP growth rate across sub-Saharan African countries, right? So this is a map and a form of heat map or choropleth map. Right. You can also have bar charts. This is a really, really simple one, but we're going to see more complex ones in a moment. So those are single figures, and Tableau can create single figures. But Tableau, like Power BI, the other sister platform to Tableau, creates what we call data dashboards. And you'll hear that term data dashboards talked quite a lot about it. But I want to put up a definition of what a dashboard is and give you some sort of bounds of what makes up a dashboard. Dashboards, at their essence, bring together a single or multiple data sets. So you may have one data set or you may have multiple data sets to visualize and offer analysis on an overarching question or theme. And in some cases, a series of related questions, often through multiple figures. Right? It's a mouthful here, but it means we're bringing together a large data set, or a data set, or even multiple data sets that are helping us to get at one central question or theme. And then we're creating multiple figures, as we're going to see, on the same shape to tell that story to help us answer that question, right? But you have to have an overarching theme. Dashboard ties things together, brings things together, right? That's what you're seeing here. That first part of the definition, brings things together or brings together. Dashboards themselves are often comprised of panels or panes, that's what we call them, that are often 3 to 5 in number, that provide figures alongside helpful documentation. Documentation being text, documentation being labels, annotations, any of that, but it's bringing together panels of information to tell this story, to answer that overarching question, right? That's what a dashboard is, and that's what we're going to be making today. So let's take a look at some dashboards and talk and break some of this down. So I want to show you this dashboard here. This is the GDP growth rate of sub-Saharan African countries. And I want you to take a look at this dashboard. It's a little bit hard to see. It's just a picture for now. And I want you to tell me in the chat, what do you think the overall question, and you should be able to see this just by looking at the headers, what is the question or theme that this visualization is reflecting on, or is asking, or is discussing? So in a sentence, doesn't have to be long. What is the overarching question or theme, if you want to put it there? Put that in the chat. Open up your chat. Tell me, what is that overarching theme here? GDP growth rate. So that's a topic. Good. Any other thoughts? I'm going to wait because it takes some time to type in that chat, I know. So it's always important for those of you who are doing digital education to always take a good pause, because it takes time for folks to share in the chat. So Linda has said GDP growth rate. So a theme, an overarching theme here. You can see that certainly in the title of this visualization. Any other thoughts? The effect of COVID-19 on economic activity. Good. All right. There's another theme from Florence. So I would say Linda's a sort of a broad theme here. Florence has shared a more sort of specific angle on that GDP growth rate theme, the effect of COVID on economic activity. Okay. Any others? Yeah, I think Florence has got it in a sense. That's a theme. I could put it in a question, and I could say that as a question. What is the effect of COVID-19 on economic activity? And here's another question we ask. How does the effect of COVID-19 on economic activity vary across countries? Right? We're also interested in that sub question, right? How did it affect? But we're really looking at different countries here. We're saying, which countries did it affect the most? Which countries did it affect the least? And then the final question that may not be shared here in this actual visualization, but we're wondering in the back of our mind is, why is there variation, right? We're building up from the why question to the what question. Why did some countries grow so their growth rates declined significantly, whereas others declined a little less, right? Maybe it was lockdowns. Maybe it was government policy. Maybe it was preparation for the pandemic, right? All of these things are things that were helping us think about in this visualization, right? So the point here is, if you're looking at a visualization, or if you're designing your own, as we're going to be working on in Tableau today, we want you to think about what is that central theme when you're creating the dashboard. What is the central question? I like to say question, because oftentimes when we're doing data visualizations, we're actually answering a question, right? Even above and beyond a specific theme. And when we answer a question, it helps tailor the specific things, the specific figures and data we need to show to help us answer a question. So always think in questions. It helps both in research and in data visualization. So here we have a lot of different figures. Just for the sake of time, we'll point them out. We have a map, chloropleth, or a heat map here. We have a sort of a dot and line plot here that's showing sort of the change. We have a bar graph. So again, we have three different figures, right? Different figures, and then we have some documentation, right? And I'm going to actually boot this up. So let me stop sharing here, and I'm going to go here to hold on one moment. I'm going to show the tablet here. So I'm going to mark some stuff up for you here on this visualization there. All right. So you should be able to see the same visualization. The only difference is that I can write on it a little bit, which is going to help us for some of the key planning here. Okay. All right. So we can see here, let me draw with the red. is that we've got three different sort of main panes here. We got pane here. We've got a pane here. We've got a pane here. And then we also have sort of a subpane right here. So sort of 4 panes here, if we can sort of see that, right? That's what we've got here in this visualization. And then some text up here. I want to point out another couple things because these are important design elements. And I want to erase, I want to undo all of these. Is look at this. Look at the spacing in between these. One of the other things that we're going to be talking about is properly spacing your data visualization and keeping it consistent. Notice how the spaces are about the same in the visualization right here. And that's because, you know, we're planning that out. And one of the nice things about data visualization done well is you got to learn to love the white spaces, they call them, or blank spaces, right? You don't want to clutter up your visualization with 10 different figures here. That's way too much. But we got 3 figures and about 4 panes here, and it's evenly spaced. And notice also the color is green. It's consistent across the color here, right? Another design principle we'll talk about. Let's take a look at another data visualization here. I'm not going to ask you to share the theme here, but I'm going to point out some things. This one is answering the questions of what is the difference in unemployment rate between the United States and the European Union, right? As 2 sort of advanced developed economic regions, they vary in terms of unemployment. What is the variation in unemployment in comparison between the 2? That's the question. That's the theme here. You can see that from the title. And the best titles help us explain the question at the outset, so you know what you're getting yourself into. You've got a little bit of text here, so documentation, which is nice, sort of an intro. But notice, not a ton of text. One of the mistakes that a lot of people do in their visualization is they put a ton of text on it. That defeats the purpose of a data visualization, right? So our purpose of data visualization is to make things that are visual, that communicate things that we interact with, right? But if we have too much text, then we overload our viewer. So we got a little bit of text to set things up. But you see on this visualization, this dashboard here, this simple dashboard, there's no more text. What it uses is nice titles of the figures to help that, and allows the viewer, and this is a key thing with data dashboards, to explore the data for themselves. I'm going to repeat that again. Good data visualizations allow the viewer to explore the data visualization for themselves. And Tableau is going to allow you to do that in an interactive way. So I don't have to explain everything here, but I can look at it. And as somebody that's interested in this question of variation of unemployment, I can begin to sort of compare across countries. All right. Let's take a look at one final visualization dashboard I'm going to mark up, and then we're going to take a look at some more interactive ones. And I want to, at that point, hear what you like and don't like about these visualizations, and then we'll start to build. This data dashboard here is COVID-19 cases, global cases. This includes several different figures. We got a bar chart here. We got a bar chart combined with a line graph here. So there's a second panel. We have a bar chart here for total cases. So we have sort of 2 different forms of data. So it may be in the same data set or maybe different data sets. We have a bubble map plot here. So a 4th figure. So this has got sort of like 2 types of figures here. Then we have one here, and one here, right? Figures here. And there are 4 panels in this visualization, nicely spaced, using some blank spaces and beautifully nesting the figures. You'd be surprised how hard it is to just kind of arrange things in a nice way, right? We got a title here that helps us know that the question that we're wondering is, what is the impact of COVID-19 in terms of cases and deaths? That is our question. But we see a couple features here that I want to point out on this. Country, right here, and I want to point out date. These are features of Tableau that make this figure interactive. You can actually change in this drop down when we look at it, the country, and then we'll show one country and give you the stats for that country. So if you're having trouble finding your country on this visualization, you can search it. So that allows the viewer, again, to explore the data for themselves, that key principle. On the other side, we also have date ranges that can be changed to look at different dates. In this data set here, it's actually using the daily COVID data. So on each day, so you can pick different days to see how things were going in an individual country. This allows, again, the viewer to explore the data for themselves, right? So I wanted to point up and mark up these different features here because it helps us think about graphical principles here, as well as, some of the key things that we want to take a look at. So to summarize, I'm going to keep this on my iPad for now. Our purpose of doing this is to focus on a central question or message or story. We've talked about that, particularly in data dashboards. Maintain consistency across the visualization, and don't be afraid to use those white or blank spaces, but whatever you do, be consistent. Color, spacing, dimensions, consistency. The third thing is communicating the message through non-text cues, keeping the text down, right? Using color and clear labeling to help our readers understand our visualization, and eliminate any redundant labeling. You don't want to label too much. You want to label just enough. And the final thing that I said, I think 4 or 5 times now, allow the viewer to investigate for themselves and provide them the tools to do that investigation for themselves in your data visualization. Big point right here, right? That's really key takeaway. So let's take a look at 3 visualizations here very quickly. And I'm going to do this fairly quickly, but I want you to take a look at them. I'm going to pull them up on my screen. So I'm going to share them. And I want you to share in the chat what you liked about these visualizations, some of the key features that you liked about them. Because one of the best ways that we learn to visualize in Tableau is we look at what other people are doing in Tableau. So let's take a look at these. I'm going to pull down my screen here, and I'm going to pull up my web browser because some of these have specific links and other things. So I'm going to share with you this first one here. I'm going to put a link in the chat for this so you can actually view this on your computer here. So take a look at this Tableau public visualization here. So let's take a look at this one here. I'm going to share my screen again. And if you take a look at it, it has some features when you hover around it that can be viewed. Right? So it actually has some things you can click on. It will take you to articles. It has here some tooltips. It has a map here, a static map. It's got a lot of features here. This one's all about answering the questions, where can people in Liberia get healthcare? Right? And how many clinics are there in the country, and where are those hospitals? Right? So the issue of access to public health resources is sort of the central theme. And the question is, where are those health facilities in the country of Liberia? That is the overarching theme. What do we like about this one? Feel free to raise your hand, or if not, add in the chat, share one thing that you liked about this visualization, one cool thing you liked about it. Yes, so I'm going to allow you, Burle, to allow yourself to talk. Go ahead. You should be able to unmute yourself so we can hear you.
I like the fact that I can turn on and off the country names. I like that feature about it.
Okay. So we can turn off and on the country. These are the county names. Yeah, so the counties. So you got a little slider down here. So if you're wondering, like, which county is it? So it's not country, it's county, I think. It's hard to read because it's so small here. But yeah, so you can flip that on and off with a nice little toggle button there. So because, again, maybe you know Liberia well and you're curious about the counties, and that's going to be functioning into it. Great, great. Thanks for sharing. Other thoughts in the chat or with a raised hand? Things that we liked about this visualization? You can also share some things you didn't like as well. That's fine. That's why we call this section review and critique. I think we're more focused on some of the best practices. Any other thoughts? Florence says I feel like it's a lot of information. It is, right? And that's a dashboard, right? So there is a lot for you to explore. So the question that you're asking yourself now is this a lot of information good? In other words, digestible? Or is it something that that we need to perhaps lessen, right? So that's something to think about. So that's a decision we have to make as a visualization expert. Okay. Any other thoughts? Okay.
Linda's
All
hand
right.
is up.
You go ahead. All right. So I'm seeing no other thoughts in the chat, but be thinking about, what you like and don't like, because that's how we're going to make sure we're improving ours. I'm going to show a couple more here, and then we're going to jump into our demonstration. So let's show this one here. Urban Africa. So hopefully it's loading on your screen. I'm going to so this one, Urban Africa. What are some things you like and don't like? Or things that you like? Any thoughts? Well, I'll share some of the things that, so Florence says to us, the host and the panelists, that likes the color combination, right? So there's really nice colors in this, right? So there's a pleasing color palette that is used and it's consistent, right? And it's got this really earthy kind of feel to it with the light browns and that nice muted blue or turquoise color, right? So it's consistent colors. I'll add to that. I really like the geometric shapes. I love how it's using this triangle pattern to help with the data visualization, right? And the font is also quite cool as well. At the top here, you got this really cool Urban Africa font there mixed in with certain different elements as well of font, right? So it's a very beautiful visualization. If you zoom in here, it doesn't have so many of the tooltips and other information that the other one did. Right? This is a much more static visualization. The only real tooltips are right here that provides to us the population, right? But there's not as much sort of added pieces to it on this visualization. So just call your attention to that as well. All right. So we could spend a lot of time taking a look at great visualizations in Tableau. But at the end of the day, it's really important to take a look at what other people have done, because it helps us sort of think about other things that we can mimic in our own visualizations, right? So up till now, I'm going to assume we have a basics of why we visualize. We also have some fundamental design principles. We understand the concept of dashboards and some design features that relate to dashboards. Now we're going to turn to Tableau itself and dive into the platform. So let's get started on that. So I'm going to encourage you to create a free account at Tableau Public. I'm going to drop that link in the chat. So I'm going to drop that in the chat for you now. So let me drop that in the chat so you have this. I'm also sending in the chat. I am also sending in the chat let's see. One moment. I'm going to. Yep, there we go. So I'm going to put here. I'm going to share here. So we got that here, and I'm going to share some data as well in the chat. So I encourage you to download that data. So here we go. And it's just our Leaders of Africa Institute websites. and it allows you to download this Excel spreadsheet right away. So if you click on the link, it's going to not take you to a website or anything. It's just going to download the data on your computer so that you're ready to follow along, right? So I'm going to add that link there. So I've put the Tableau public place that you can start and sign up for an account. And then I shared the data. So I'm going to wait for just 30 seconds here while everyone's getting tuned up here. If you want to follow along, you do not have to follow along today, but we know that sometimes we learn by doing. I was in one of the other sessions talking about youth entrepreneurship, and oftentimes it's all about learning while doing. And at the Institute here, our programs are all built around creating your own capstone project. So we also believe in learning by doing. So we're going to get set up here while you're getting set up here. So I'm going to be passing it over to Eva, who's going to get into us demonstration here. We're already signed on. So we'll just give just a minute more here for us to get ready. And for you to get ready, that's the important part. Okay. And then there's the data set here. All right. So I hope you've gotten some time to get yourself ready here. I am going to pass it on over to Eva. So we're going to shuffle the production computer here that we're both using, and she's going to take over. So one moment, I'm going to just turn off the camera here and put Eva on.
Watch her neck. Watch her neck.
I think it's good.
It's good. There we go. All right. For those of you who want to follow us, follow along the demonstration. I believe that by now you should have been able to download Tableau public and insert it and install it. And it's so much easy. Tableau public actually allow you to run Tableau both on Windows and also Apple laptops, that is MacBook. So it's much easier doing this here. So one of the things that Peter said that is very important is when you're doing data visualization, you should look at what other people are doing. There's so much information about data visualization. There's a lot of things that you can learn about data visualization, and people are creating a lot of design and also coming out with different ideas, different creative ways of analyzing and visualizing your data. So personally for me, if I'm working in Tableau and I have some data that I want to work with, I always come to Tableau Public. And when you come to Tableau Public, as you can see on the screen here, there is the VIX for the day, right? So this VIX gives you some design ideas. Or design ideas that you can emulate. Some of these things are on the advanced side, like in Tableau, there are different stages. The beginning side, intermediate, advanced, and the Zen Master. The Zen Master is like those who are actually on the superior end. So, okay. So most of the time, if you want to design, come here, see what people are doing to get inspiration. And when you click on, let's click on some design that is on the easier end. Let's see, efficiency, recruiting efficiency. So when you see recruiting efficiency, this is so simple. This is so nice. It's showing recruiting people for jobs and things like that. Days filled by things. And this is just simple. Sometimes when you come here and you click on this, here, it allows you, you click on this small icon here, the download button here. It allows you to be able to download the workbook. So when you download the workbook of this person, sometimes when you download it, and it opens in Tableau, it allows you to see how they did the design. And based on this, you can copy some of the things that they did. So I don't know if this person, some people will not allow you to see what they've actually done. They can lock it. Some people will allow you to see it clearly. This person have locked everything. So you see, you can't see it. The only thing you can see is the dashboard that they created. So that is the thing. Yeah. Sorry, I closed down everything. Okay. So now, if I was doing this to give you time to download Tableau Public. So if you've downloaded Tableau Public, you should just roll along with me. So when you download Tableau Public, one of the things is that anytime you design, your dashboard or the things that you design will show here. Even the demonstration that I show you by opening someone dashboard is also showing here. So everything will show you. And here, when you come here, it's showing you VIX for the day. It's showing you blogs, sample data you can use to work on it, and also some resources here. So because this Tableau is free, we are limited to how we can connect the data set. So the public one. So this one allows us to connect the data set through Excel, text file is CSV, JSON. I've never used JSON file before, so I don't really know what it is, but I'm sure Peter will come back and explain to you. Then they have Microsoft Access. If you have access to Microsoft Access, PDF file, spatial file. Spatial file is really good when you are doing spatial data set like maps and things, but you're also looking at it in the form of polygons or geometric. These are very good, as other statistical file. And also Peter just spoke about servers. Here, services, and this service allow you to connect the data live, so you can be updating the data most of the time. And here you are limited to just Google Drive, old data, and also you can connect your data set through web design. So Google Drive is the same thing. If you were here for Datawrapper, is the same thing. When you open it, you allow Google Drive to share. The share should be public, and then you put in the information here. Then you connect it to Tableau. So we are not doing Google Drive today. We're just going straight to connect the data through Microsoft Excel, because what we are working on is from Excel. So you click on it, and this is the data set that we are working on. And that is the same thing that Peter has shared the link with you in the that's not it. Okay, so I've connected my data set to Tableau. So when you connect the data set, because this data set has different sheets here, Tableau asks you which one do you want to use to start with your work. I want the data set on African countries. This is the COVID data, COVID cases. So the moment you do it, what you do is that you drag it here. Then when you drag it here, it allows you to it brings, sometimes it's updated itself automatically, sometimes it's like updated. So right now that we are here, Tableau is showing you all the fields in the data set here. If you can see me scrolling my thing on the left side, there is region, there is country, there is date. And another thing I want you to pay attention especially to is this tiny icons, that like the blue bars and the green things here. So if your data is in string, that is like in letters, it shows the ABCD sign. If your data is country, like geometric data, it shows the globe symbol here. If your data is in dates, if you have dates, it shows like a tiny calendar here. And if it's in figures, numbers, it should be green here, right? Sometimes Tableau will not read the data really well. And if it reads, sometimes a spring data set will be showing as numbers. Sometimes it wouldn't capture that the data that you are using are countries, and it wouldn't show you the globe. So in that case, you should click on this tiny triangle here. Then when you click on it, you should actually click on the globe here. When you click on it, it's saying that it's showing you that this data is string and there's a default. And when you come here to geographical row, because this is like a country data, you will see that it's already clicked that it's country or region, which is accurate, right? So times that it doesn't show you that, you should be able to come in here and change it. Let's say that it says that the data is numbers, right? The moment it shows numbers, you see everything has turned into now. So right now I need to change it back to what it was before. So I come here, then I change it to string data set, then it brings it back together. So always pay attention to these tiny things, because if it's not showing the right, it's not showing the data in the right place that it showed, either string numbers or the default number, that means that you're going to have trouble analyzing that. Tableau wouldn't be able to capture it, because this one is numbers. It shows that it's numbers, it's whole numbers. If it's decimal, it will pick decimal numbers. So right now that we have our data set that is here, it looks clean. Tableau is asking you, go to your first sheet. So when you click on it, click on this, it brings you to your first sheet. And now all the data set that you're working on is here. So you can see that the data set that are in spring that I said is in letters, ABC country, they're on top here. And they all have the blue, the symbol all are colored in blue. And also the data set that are in measures like numbers are all have the symbols have green sign here. So this is something that you should pay attention to. And this is like the interface where you'll be working from your workspace. So here you have the column, you have your rows. On top here, you have like the different format. You have the file, you have data, you have worksheet. We will use this as we go along here. And this place also allow you to do different things. So before I walk us through, I want us to do a demonstration of this data set by first of all creating a bar chart. So we want to create a bar chart of COVID cases in African countries, and also looking at it from the regional angle in terms of the impact based on the regions. So here we have regions. I put it in the column, that you will see that it's showing me the names of the regions, Central Africa, North Africa, and all those things. And also you can see that it's in the standard format. You can do entire view, which will show you all this, but at this moment, let's work in the standard format. If you have any questions, please raise your hands, or the other thing is you can drop your question in the chat so that we go. I want this to be as much interactive as possible. So here I drop my region in the column. The other thing I need that is missing is you will see that I need the COVID cases. So I come down here and look for daily COVID cases. So sometimes, because this one is a lot of numbers, I have to scroll down to look at it. The other thing is that you can also search it here, new COVID cases. If you search new, it brings everything about new. So new COVID cases, the other thing you can do is to drag it down here. Then this is what it's showing, but I don't want it that way. I want it in the column and in the row section. So when you drag it in the row section, it's showing you the COVID cases. And because the COVID cases is in numbers, as I said, in figures, so you will see that is numeric. You will see that it's changed to green, right? And now, and because the region is in spring, it's changed to blue. So here, when I click down on this tiny triangle button here, you will see that it's showing me the header, everything has clicked, it's showing that it's numbers and it's showing that it's continuous. You can change it to discrete if you want. If you change it to discrete, it's what it's going to show. So we will go back and change it to continuous. We'll be working on some of these features as we go. And here you can see that everything is crunch together. The other thing you can do is to click on this arrow here and click on fit width. Then everything is here, but it's just too big. That is not what I want. Fix the height. The other thing is to do entire view, which is something that I don't want. So let's do standard. So Tableau gives you the opportunity to create in terms of the bar, in terms of how big you want the size to be, to do it yourself manually. So what I do is that I bring my cursor down below to where the names are, and you can see that there is this bar showing. So I make sure that I have my cursor by itself and click on it, then drag it a little bit. So when I drag it, it's still showing me the big form, which I do not like. I want to drag it out. You can do undo. This is the arrow to do undo. This is just too big. Okay, now I have the right size here. So you can see that when I drag it, it's now showing me the names of the countries very well. Central Africa, East Africa, Northern Africa, and West Africa. So from here, you can see that West African countries have like the smallest amount of COVID-19 cases. The other thing you can do is that to come here to size, because the bar is just so big, you can come to size here under mark. Then size allow you to size it to make it extra big or make it tiny. So if you drag it to your left, it becomes tiny. If you drag it to your right, it becomes much bigger. So you can also size it. And here you can also put labels here if you want the figures to show or the names to show. When you click on label, you can show, it's showing that mark label. If you say show label and you click on it, it's showing you the numbers like the COVID cases of these countries. The other thing is that if you want the labels to be the names of the country, you should come to region. You come here to your table and drag region into labels. If you drag it into labels, now the names are here. The names are on top of it. The other thing is that we do not want regions to be in the label, so you can drag it down because the names are down below, which is fine. If you want the numbers to show, you just say show labels and the numbers will show. You can come in here and format the numbers however you want it. But I don't want the numbers to show. And also this place, color give you the opportunity to change the color to whatever you want. So this is where you change the colors to. You can also do more colors. More colors give you the opportunity to also add a custom color. Sometimes you are working for an organization and you have like a color, specific colors that you use. It allows you to input the color codes here. Then when you put the color codes here, you pick the color that you want for your organization. The other thing is that it allows you to have like a different color for the borders. So if you pick black for the borders is showing black. And also, okay, the halo is not open. And here you can do, in terms of the opacity level, you can change it to however you want it. So that's the thing. And here is a tooltip. As Peter was talking about, the tooltip is here. When I click on it, it's showing me information about the data, what the data set is. It's saying that it's region, Southern Africa, and the cases is over 5,000. That is a tooltip. You can come in here and format your tooltip really well if you want it. Here, COVID cases, you can format it really well. You can also change the colors if you want the colors to be something different than that. You can change the colors. I want the region to be bold. I want it to be 12 size. It's the same here. So this allows you to do different things. And when I come in here, my region is bold. And if you want to change the color to be black, is brown. I don't like it to be brown. It allows you to do that. So you can take advantage of some of these features right now. That is what I have here. So this look good. But the other thing is that I do not want new COVID cases to be here, because here it's asking you to name, to give a name for the sheet. So to do that, you can right click on it and do edit the name. Or the other thing is that you can just double click on it and it still comes. So the names of this sheet is new COVID cases, new cases. Let's just say new cases. new daily cases. So the name is here, the region is here. Also, you can come here for me if I'm doing the dashboard, it's always good for me under the sheet to rename your sheet really well. So you can do new daily cases here so that when you're creating the dashboard, it's much easier. Here you have region here. If you don't want the title region here, or you don't want new cases here, what you do is that you right click on it and it's saying that, and you have all this ascending, descending order. What you can do is to hide the field column. So when you click on it, it hides it for you. The same thing here, when you come here and you right click on it, it has a different name. It's asking you show header. You can say, no, I do not want to show header. So you unclick this and the header is gone. But if you undo it, it's here, right? So if you don't want these things to be here, if you don't want the numbers to be here, the headers to be here, if you unclick it, it's gone. Undo it. But the thing is, I want these figures to be here. What I really don't want is the new cases here. So what you do is that you right click on it, and when you right click on it, you double click on it, then it brings you to the axis. So you actually need to edit the axis. The only thing I want to do is to delete the title new cases. Then you have it here because I already have the name here to be new cases. The other thing I want us to do quickly is to look at formatting. If you do not want this line showing here, I'm taking you through this because the other ones that we are going to do, I'm not going to walk you through all the simple steps that I'm taking you through because it's going to be the same thing that we are doing. I'll just walk through it really quickly. Here, if you don't want these lines here, you don't want the grid lines here, you can right click on it to format it. Another way, you right click on it, the formatting comes, it asks you to clean it. Or you can go on top of your bar and you could see format here and it's asking you, what do you want to format? I don't want the lines here. So you can click on lines. And when you click on lines, it brings you here. It brings you to the format line. So you can say, you don't want the lines of the grid. You can come to your format borders or format lines. So if you click on none, all of it will, none for the sheet. Actually, let's do, okay, yeah, we are doing the entire thing for the sheet. So this one, nothing changed here. So what we want to do is to actually look at the rows and the columns. So when we did that, it's muted for the rows and the column, but also you can see that we still have this here. So you come back to the row, there's a grid line here. If you click none, it goes away. You see the grid line for rows is gone away. What is the grid line for column? There's no grid line for column. We've cleaned it. So this one is looking clean. The other thing is that if you want to increase the font size, you come to, you click on your font size format. That is the A in here, which is font size. You want to change the font size for the entire sheet. So you click on sheet. Then you click on black. I want it to be black. You can increase it to say 10. And also you can change in terms of the font name, or you can choose any font theme that you want. That is the thing. So this one is looking good. The other thing is that you can also change your data, say rearrange your bars, ascending and descending order. And there are a lot of ways to do that. One way to do it is to come to your rows on top here and right click on it. It's asking you to sort. No, it's not showing the sort here. So you can come here. I'm surprised that I'm not seeing sort here. So, oh yeah, it should be this one. Yeah, it should be here because you want to sort the regions. So when you right click on it, it's asking you to sort. So this is sort. So when you click on sort, there are a lot of ways you can do it. Descending order, then it's change, ascending order, then it's change for you. And the other thing is that you want to sort by, say, in alphabetical order. When you click on it, it's already sorted in alphabetical order already. The other thing is you can sort it by field, that is by cases and things like that. We've already done that. If you do it by fields, like by fields, you can do ascending order and descending order. You can sort it manually. Manually is like you drag, let's say I want Central Africa to be at the bottom. You click on it, then you go right click on it, then you drag it here. Or you do it manually, or you do it nested. It's the same thing, descending and ascending order. So this allow you to do the descending and ascending. If you don't want to go through this process, long process, you can come here. It's the same thing here on this toolbar, sort by region. Here is giving you descending order. When you click on it, you've already done that. Ascending order goes the other way around. And also, if you want it, and this is in the vertical format, if you want it in the horizontal format, you right click on this to swap it. So when you swap, this is how it shows you. And when you swap it to the other way, this is how it shows you. So this gives you a lot of things to do. So right now, this looks good. We've created our bar chart for this. The other thing we want to look at it is create a line graph. A line graph to show in terms of the trends of COVID cases. So what we want to do is that line graph is mostly in the form of like this time series. So we want to start with the date. We want to put a date on the row or on the column, however you want to put it. So right now, because the date is showing as, okay, so let's put the date here. I'm going to do something. Let's go and look for new COVID cases. You put it in the column. So this is how it's showing you. The line graph is not looking great. If you look at this line graph, it's not really showing the trend. This is because Tableau is reading the date as discrete, but dates, we want the date to be continuous. So you right click or you click on it. You can do right click on it. If you right click on it, it's showing the date to be discrete. You want to change it to continuous. So when you do continuous, right now it's showing you the years, right? But we don't want it to be the years. It's still not showing us the trend really well. So instead of doing years, you right click on it and you come here. This first things here is showing you that the data is in discrete. So it's not really going to show it really well. So the other thing is that you come back here because you've already said the data is continuous. You come to the bottom here. This is where the continuous trend is. So if you click on, you want to see the data quarterly, you click on quarter. This is what it's going to show you. But the quarter is also not projecting like the trend really well. So the other thing is that you can also do by month. It's not really showing it. I mean, it's showing the trend by month, but you also want it to be like really see a very good trend here. So you can do by week, which is good. Or you can do just by day. If you do it by day, this is perfect. This is what I really want to see. The other thing is that you can do exact date and it's going to give you the same thing. So here it actually gives you the time COVID-19 cases. The first cases in African country was February 14th on a Valentine's Day. I didn't even know. So someone went out partying on Valentine's Day and they got COVID. So the first cases was recorded on Valentine's Day. So you could see the trend. You can see that around January 8th, that is when African country peak, the first peak here. Then it slows down. You can see the trend really well. Then here you come back to around June, July, thereabout. Then you could see also the second wave, it slows down. Then here, the third wave started around December, thereabout. I'm not surprised December because there's a lot of party going on in December. So you could see the trend really well. The other thing that you want to do is that it's showing that 3 cases are now. So you can right click on it and tell, if you click on this, you want to clean it really well. You want to tell Tableau that filter this data or show them as default, anyhow you want to do it. If you say filter, that is that you exclude them from the calculation. So let's just exclude them. So this is looking good because we have the colors. We want to show the colors to be green like the other one. The other thing is that you also have the opportunity. There is show me here. Show me allows you to change your date, your chart into different kind of charts or line graph. So we can do bar chart here. If you do bar chart, that is not the purpose what we really want. You can do, you see, when we did the bar chart, it's gone back to discrete. So you have to come back here and it's gone back to continuous. You have to come back here and do exact date and it'll come back. You can do all this chart. You can do, you see, what when Peter was talking, he says that when you want to create your chart, you also have to think about the right charts that will go with the right data to communicate whatever you want to do. So here, Tableau is showing me, oh, you can show the data set in pie chart, but pie chart will not really tell me about the trend in the data set. So there's no point in using pie chart. You can use heat map. Heat map will do the work. Heat map here will do the work, but I really want to see the trend, right? You can do tables. Yeah. Tables is not really telling me the trend. It's telling me the total numbers, right? Which is good, but that is not what I really want. So you go back here and it's looking good. Oh. So here we have the trend here. The other thing I want to show, another cool thing is that I can do dual axis. Dual axis allows me to say, I can do, let's change this into a bar chart, right? If I change it to a bar chart, now you see everything is so close together. You come back to size, as I was saying, then you reduce the size between them. So now it's showing it to be like in the form of area chart, which is really cool. The other thing is that you can fix it manually. That is a manual thing that I did. You can fix it, like just fix it and Tableau will fix it for you. Here it's showing me, I want green, but I don't really want the lines there. So I want to change the borders to green. Then it showed me the green or the borders to black so that I will see the different things there. But let's just do green for now. Then it's showing it as area chart. The other thing I want to see is that I can have like area chart and also have another chart on this one. Like I can create two charts with the same figures. So what I want to do is you can drag this here, copy it to give you a different, no, it's not working out. So what I want to do is to still go back and look for COVID cases here and drag it and put it here. So if I drag it and put it here, it's giving me two different set of COVID, two different charts, same charts, but in two different formats. So what I want to do is that, let's say I want to change the top one to, let's say, a line graph. So I come here, it's showing me all of it is in bar chart. So what I want to do is to go back here and say, chart, first of all, I want to change one of it to a line graph. So what I do is to go back here and change it to a line graph, and the top one changed to a line graph, which is looking cool. Let me change the color so that we have a different color for it. Let's do it black. And also let's increase this. Let's do a different color, like say brown, more colors, brown. Okay, let's do brown. Now let's increase the size to make it a little bigger. Yeah, that's looking good. But what I want to do is I want to have this line chart, line graph here to sit on top of this area chart here. So what I need to do is to do something called dual axis. So I click on the axis here on the left, then I right click on it. When you right click on it, down below, when I right click on it, yeah, the down below, the one below is they're showing you that there is dual axis. So the axes are two. So if I click on it, it's going to combine them together. So if I click on dual axis, it's going to bring it together. You see, now dual axis. But the other thing is that it's not really showing it well. So you also go on your right hand side and say, okay, dual axis, I want it to be synchronized. I want you to synchronize it well, put it together really well. So when you click on synchronize, now the thing is showing really well. The other thing is that, let me see. Okay, so you can see that the line is not really showing really well because the line is at the back of the area chart. So you also right click on it and you say, move mark to the back. So when you say move mark to the back, it brings the line graph to the front. It brings the line graph to the front and take the area chart to the back. You can say move mark to the back, then it gives you that. But we want the area chart to come to the front. So dual axis, then you move it to the front, which is looking good. So my line graph here, I want to reduce the size a little bit. Okay, now this is good. It's the same thing here. So right now that we've done synchronize the axis, that means this axis is the same thing as this. So we delete this. To delete that, you right click on it and just say, and just unclick the form, the show header, then it's gone away. And we already done this. I want to delete the COVID as is here. Then, as I said, if you want the grid lines to go away, you just right click on it and do format. Then the first thing is I want to do formats of the line, of the whole sheet first. So I click none for everything. Then including the axis and everything. So when I go back, everything has not gone. You still have some of the lines here. I go into rows and I said none. Then the lines for the rows are gone. And here, but still there's lines here. So these lines are the borders. What you do is that you come to the borders here. Then you see grand total has this, the divider, column divider has the pane still have like some lines here. So the column divider, you click none, then the column divider, the none is gone here. And when you come to for rows, it's the same thing. When you click on the column, the row divider and you click none, it's all gone. So right now your thing is looking clean. You go back to your format, you change it to black, you increase the font size, then it's looking good. So right now, the same thing here. If I change the name of the bar here, it's going to show here. So here is going to be, let's say line graph. So when I change it down below, it changes it. But when you change the name here, it doesn't change anyway. The other thing we want to do is to show the COVID case, to create a map, which is very, very important. So creating a map here, I'll show you the cool features. And after we've created the map, we'll go back to design. We'll have enough data set to design a dashboard. But before we do the map, I want to show you how to create tables, which is very important. So to create a table, first of all, I want to create a table by regions. Like the same thing here. This one, I have it in a bar chart, but how about I want to change it into tables? So I click on the regions, I drag it to the column. It's showing me the names of the regions, which is good. Then I look for new COVID cases here and put it here. If I put it in text, it's going to show me the table. So you can also, you see, what I did was to drag new cases into text. And this is the COVID table that is showing me. So when you come here, if you do the same thing, it's showing you the table. But I want the table to be in, I don't want it in this format. I want it to be like in transport. I want to transport it to the other side. So I swap it. So when I swap the column, is a swap rows and columns. So when I do that, it gives me in this horizontal way. So this one is not showing, the names is not showing really well. The same thing that we did is to come here. You can do entire view, but if you do entire view, it's not really showing it well. So I don't really like it. I like to do it manually. So I come back here and drag it a little bit. If you do, if you drag it a little bit, it's showing very well. It's the same thing. I'm done with the tables. So you hide the field. What you do is that you want to format it. So you go back to format. Then you want to increase the font size. You see, I right click on this one. So I want to click the font size of the header. So because I click on that, the header came of the region. I right click on the header and I did bold. I want to increase the font size of the alignment. I want the alignment to be in the center. Oops. No, that is a pane. Alignment for the header. So the header is already in the center. So I want the figures to be in the center. Why is it not in the center? Okay. No, okay. In the center. Then the pane. Does anyone have a question? I feel like it's been very quiet. There's no questions coming in the chat. Any question before I move on? Because I'm going to go through it really fast. Then we spend enough time to create our dashboard. No questions yet. Okay. So from here, the alignment, let me go back to the header, center, Then I don't want to shade now. I want to change the font size to be black and increase the font size, the font color to be black, increase the font size to 14. I don't know why it's not changing. Let me do the entire sheet. Yeah, I click on it to do the entire sheet, which is much better. Change the font size to 14 to 12. Yeah. Then I come to the alignment. I want it to be in the center. So I'm doing for the entire sheet here. So when I did it, I come here to change the font size to 14, black. Then what I want to do is I went back to here to alignment to do center for the whole thing. You can also do it by row, region, and by column if you want to do it that way. So I just want the header. I want the header to be green. Okay. All right, this is good. So I want the header to be bold. You can increase the font size for the whole sheet to be 14. Let's just stick with 12 for now. So right now, this is the table. I'm going to use the table to do something. So that's why I want us to have it here. So the next thing we want to do is to create a map. So to create COVID map, there are two kinds of ways to do it. First of all, because you've not shown the map is here, you have the symbol and you have the chloroplast ones here. So first of all, before you want to create a map, you have to bring in countries, right? That is what it will identify as countries. So the first thing I want to do is I can drag countries and just put it in the workspace here. When you do that, Tableau already identified this as a country. So it's showing the countries here. The other thing is that it's just showing countries. It's not giving you much information about what you want to do. So you can drag COVID cases. If you want to see countries by COVID cases by countries, you can drag COVID cases and put it on color. When you put it on color, it's showing you where COVID cases by countries, which is really cool. The other thing is that, let me see if I put it in size, what does it do? If you put it in size, then it's going to show you the symbol map, right? So it's going to show you the tiny bars here and the things here. So, but the other thing you want to do is that the symbols here are very tiny. So you come to size and increase it. And when you put it in here, you will see that South Africa has the highest number of COVID cases. We can stick it this way, or we can. The other thing is that we can do it in symbols, but also it doesn't really tell us much. It tells us much, but you have to really pay close attention to see it. The other thing we can do is just take it from side and just put it in color. That should show us the chloroplast map with a legend here. So this is looking good. Let's assume that I want to format this whole thing. If you want to format it and just have the map as African map without all this background here, we're enjoying the process. Okay. Thank you, Joseph. I'm glad that you're enjoying it. If you don't want to have all this background service and all these countries here, there's a lot of ways to format it. So one thing you want to do is to come here. You can right click and say format, right? And it will show you the format here. But if you right click and you start to format it, this is the base. If you don't tell Tableau to take the base away and you try to do formatting, let's say, let me format it, right? I want to shade the whole thing to, let's say, a green color. I want to give the worksheet a green, black background, right? You see, my background is not really picking up all because there is a base here, right? And it wouldn't go away. So just pay attention to this. So the other thing is I don't want it. So I have to come to map, click on it. Then you go to map. When you click on the header here, you can see map is here. You click on map. It's asking you map background. Right now the background is light. You can change it to normal, which is showing you the ocean. You can change it to dark. Everything is dark, but still you still have the base. Yeah, you can change it to street. If you want to see the street here, you still see the ocean really well. And you can change it to any way you want to change. You can change it to outdoors. You can change it to satellite. If you do satellites, you want to see African in space, this is how it looks like. But for our purposes, let's just do light color. So the other thing is that the base is still here. So if I want to change, you can add image if you want the image. You can edit the locations, Sometimes Tableau doesn't identify the names of some of the countries, like a country like Swaziland has changed to Eswatini, right? So let me see if Tableau has changed it to Eswatini or it's still Swaziland. So you can see that Tableau has changed it to Eswatini, right? Sometimes some old data sets still have the name Swaziland there. So sometimes if Tableau doesn't pick it well, you go to map. It doesn't, sometimes it will show you here that the name is not showing yet. So it will give you the option to change it. So if it doesn't show you and it's giving you error, you go to edit location. In a country like Eswatini, you can change the name. Here it allows you to change the names here, right? Sometimes when you click on this, it drops different names option, but Tableau will not capture it as Swaziland. So let me change this to, let's say, Swaziland and see what Tableau will say. Swaziland. So you see, there's no Swaziland. I'm typing the name. It's showing me different names. It's giving me all the X's and things like that. But you see, Swaziland is not there. So it's Swatini. That is the right name here. So you can always come here if the name is not right. Sometimes it doesn't capture, Ivory Coast, like Cote d'Ivoire. Some people write it's like Ivory Coast. It wouldn't capture it well. So if the name is also not spelled really right, you can come to edit the location, then you edit it. The other thing you want to do is that you want to change the background really quickly, the layers. You go to options. It shows you, if the option here shows you, if you don't want your map to be searchable, you undo it. If you want it to be searchable, zoomable, and all those things, this is what allows you to do. So the other thing is you want to do the background layers. So this is the background layer here. You see that it has the land cover here. It's giving you the names of the locations here, the names of the countries. Algeria, you can see Algeria, DRC Congo, and here. So here, if I want to change the land, I don't want the land base to be here, the name of this country to be here. I undo it. Right now, the base is gone, but also it has the land cover. If I undo it, the land cover is gone. But that thing is that it has the border and the region and also the name. So if I undo these things, yeah, it's gone. But the other thing is that it still has the borders and the province. I just want to see an African map, just African map with no lines or anything interacting it. So if you want to click state, now everything is gone. You have your African map, which is clean. So right now, if you want to change this, you can come to format and you want to change the background to any color you want. You click on sheet, you click on shading. Then now it allows you to give it any background you want, any color you want it to be. So now this is really looking really cool. You can do black, you can do brown, you can do anything that you want. So always remember to undo, if you want to change the background, always come to layers, and then check the base. If I have the base there and I go to format and I want to change the background, the entire background, and give it a different shading, it wouldn't work out really well. So always remember to take out the shade, because I've worked with people in the past where they do it and they forgot to take the background away, and in that case, their thing is not showing really well. So we want to undo the base. So right now, you have the countries here. Unless you click on it, you don't know which country is which country. So the other thing you can do is also as I already showed you can put the names of the countries in label. If you put it in labels, country, if you put in labels, the names of the countries will show here, right? These are too big. So if you want to edit the name, the font size are too big, you double click, you click on it and it's showing you country. You come here to edit the country. No, not this way. It's showing the font size is 9. You want it to be as very tiny. So let's say I don't want it to be 8. I want it to be 4. Let's see. Yeah, this looks good. So now you have the names of the countries here, which looks good, but we don't want the countries to be here because we want to do filter. So if you want to filter by countries, like say, if I want to filter by country, you drag it here. So I want to search a particular country, you drag it here. And from here, so you drag country and put it in filter. So when you put it in filter, it's showing you all the names of the country. Now you click on OK. I want all the countries to show. So right now, if I want to search for Ghana, I've filtered it, but it's not showing. So what you do is you come back to filter, right click on the country and say show filter. So if you show filter, you see on the left hand side here, it's showing you the filter of all the countries here. And this one, it looks like it's just too much. It's too long a list. You want it to be easy for you to search the names of the country. So you see there's this tiny triangle here, icon here. If you right click on it, if you click on it, it's showing you how you can change the filter into drop down, a slider, or a list, or multiple drop down. So let's say that we want it to be a drop down. So if you do drop down, now is a drop down. So if you want to search, say, Botswana is there, showing the map of Botswana with all the this is really cool, a cool feature that I'm seeing here for the first time. So this has changed. So when I click on Botswana, it's giving me the names of all the regions around Botswana. Mashingo is Peter, Zimbabwe. It's showing me the regions that are around, but Botswana is closer to Zimbabwe. So it's showing me Mashingo province. That is the only place that I remember. Limpopo, South Africa, right? So this is really, really cool. Let me see what happens when I do Ghana. When I search for Ghana, what shows? Oops. Why is Ghana not show? Okay, let me do all. Or they've not changed the feature for Ghana. Oh, Tableau is acting up. Okay. Oh, so let's do Ghana and see if that feature applies to Ghana too. That would be very cool. Oh, yeah, it applies to Ghana too. You see Ghana, Northern Ghana, it's showing you Oyo. Oyo is Nigeria, I think. Kwara State. So, if you zoom it, well, it's showing you all the other regions or the neighbors around us. You see Plateau. You see Maritime, you see what I don't really know these places. I don't know. I'm from Ghana. I've not been to Ivory Coast, Benin, and all those places. So I don't really know. This is showing you Niger and all those places. This is really cool. I've not seen this. So you can you can zoom it by countries. Now let's do all. So now we have a very cool African map. Let's make sure that the color that we are choosing. The other thing is that you can also change the colors. That is one thing we didn't touch on. So it gives you different shades of colors. We've been working with green. If you do green, everything's here. Let's change it. Let's stick to this color that we have. You can also change the size of the legend. If you want the legend to be, if you do advanced, you want it to have a different numbers. You can start with 5,000 or 2,000 and end with 3,000. But let's just go with the default thing that we have. So this one is like map. So right now, the other thing we want to do is to create a dashboard. So to create a dashboard, you see when you come down below here, it's actually new dashboard. And also this is story. So to create a dashboard, we come here and click on the dashboard. So with the dashboard here, I'm showing out the different size of dashboard we want to do. But for the sake of this exercise, let's just stick with automatic. So here it's showing you fixed dashboard. You can have your size. You can change the size of the dashboard you want or the Canva size that you want. And also there are other custom Canva that you want. There is a generic desktop. There is the browser desktop, so you can choose anything. There's the A4 sheet. If you want your Canvas to be in the A4 sheet, you can do that. Florence, did I answer that question? I didn't see it. I'm not seeing your question.
Yes, you did.
Oh, great. Good. So you can change the font size. You can do range if you want to do range, like you want to do, say, 500 with 700 and 600. It depends on what you want to do. Then you want to do, but let's stick with automatic. Automatic. The reason I'm sticking with automatic is that when you embed this on a website, it allows you to be able, it's adjust to the format of the website or your laptop. So this is now our dashboard. Tablet is asking me drop sheet here. So I can go and drop everything here, drop it here, but I want to do something really cool before I start dropping everything there. So the first thing I want to do is to show the dashboard has a title. The other way you can do it, there are two ways to show the title. You can drag text here and put it on here. Then you can say Africa COVID-19 cases. That is the text. Then you format it. You put it in the center, which is looking cool. This looks good. That is the first way you can do it. The other way you can do is to, when you come down below object, you click show dashboard title and you click on it. It gives you this dashboard title. When you double click on it, it brings you here and you can have the name of the dashboard title you want. Africa COVID cases. Now you highlight it, put it in the center, increase the font size to 24, bold, then apply. This is looking really cool. So right now you have your beautiful title here. The other thing you want to do is if you want to tell a story, because dashboard is telling your story about what you are doing. So if you want to tell a story, most of the time you can click on text and drag text here. So it's asking you, what do you want to tell a story about? Personally, if I want to write a dashboard, if I want to tell like my story, I have like something in, let's see, a Word document that I just do copy and paste, but I haven't done that for this exercise. So I come back here and I can write, say, African countries had the least numbers, the least COVID-19 cases and death. This is a beautiful story. And it's true, we had the least COVID-19 cases and death despite our limited infrastructure. And when it comes to hospitals and things like that, we had at least, which was a blessing. So you have it here. It looks good. The other thing I want to do is that right now, this has taken all the space. So I want to now bring my charts and figures here. So what I want to do is to start with a table. So I drag the table, then I put it here down below it. Then the other thing is that this has taken a lot of space. So you can also drag to reduce the size of this, which is looking cool. Then the table is looking cool. But right now, I don't want the title of the table here. Yeah, it doesn't really tell me much. So you can double click on it. Then you can say, delete that. Then it will delete it. The other thing you can do is to right click on it and say, hide title. Then the title is hidden. So this is looking cool. The other thing is that there's a lot of space here. So I want to do the whole thing to be, this table to be entire view. So when you click on, oh no. When you click on entire view, it should be able to occupy the space here, everything. Okay, let's see what happens. Entire view is not really showing, let's do standard. What we want to do is to drag it. Yes, so dragging it, doing it manually really show me what I really want to do and it looks really clean. The other thing is that I don't want the format here. I don't want the lines here, the grid lines here. So I go back here. I already show you what to do with the grid lines. See, I just select none for everything. Because you want consistency in your design when you are doing when you are doing this. You want everything to be very consistent, because if you have you don't have grid, you have all your chart and figures do not have grid lines, then make sure that all of them don't have grid lines. So I select none for everything. I'm going to through it too fast. It's the same formatting thing. So right now this is looking really clean. The other thing I want to do is to drag the regions. The new COVID cases here, down here is the same thing. Can drag it here. And the other thing is I want to drag the line to be by it, the new cases by line. Or the other thing is just put the map by it. So it depends on how you want it to be. So the map is here, and the last thing is I want the line to go down below here. It's just you just drag it and place it wherever you want it, and I want the map to come by the table. So now this is looking good. So you can see that this dashboard, I have a dashboard here. It looks really cool, right? But you don't want all these things here. Also, you want some spaces in between it. So what I do is that, as Peter was showing us, I don't want these headers here. So you can hide all of them to have additional spaces for them. Peter was saying that you can create a space between this one, like the white space. The way to create a white space is when you come to object, you have horizontal and vertical. So if you want the white space to be horizontal, you just drag horizontal and just put it here in the middle of this one. Then you have a white space. Then you drag it to make it very small. So there is a white space here between the horizontal and the vertical space where you can drag it to wherever. So there's a good sizable space here. The other thing is that if you want a white space between the line graph is the same thing. You can drag the vertical one and put it in the middle. Then you drag it, make it as tiny as you want. That is how you put in the white space here. You create space in Tableau. So I want to demonstrate this, but this one is not needed here. So I just want to delete this here, the introduction. So that is the best way to do introduction if you want to put in the text here. I want a little more space so that we can see the line graph really well. I don't think there's a need for this. So you can don't show there's any doesn't show. So right now you can see that I have my dashboard here. It's looking clean, but it can be better. So I have the countries here. I have COVID new cases here. What I can do is that this country, when I click on Ghana, it just applies to the map, right? But what I can do is that because the data set is coming from everything here, I can just, one of the ways to do is to click here. When you click here, it's showing filter. If you click on filter and you click on filter for all of it, you click on that tiny thing filter, it will filter everything. So right now, if I do country, Algeria, it's still showing me it didn't really work out well. So let me do all. The best way to do is to come here to the legend here and just say, and right click on it. When you right click on it, right, it's saying that apply, you click on apply to worksheet. That is using the data set. They are all coming from the same data sources. So it says that it gives you the option only to this worksheet. Say, you can just say all using related data sources, or I would say that all using this data source, because all of them are using the same data source. So when you click on it, all of them are using the same data source. So right now, let me click on Algeria and everything will change to Algeria for me. It's telling me Algeria is in North Africa. It has over 2,000 cases. It's showing me the map of Algeria. And also it's giving me the trend of COVID cases in Algeria. And also you can see that the legend down here has changed. So right now, if you don't want the legend here, it's also taking space. You can ask Tableau to float it. Floating means that you can drag it and put it anywhere you want. So you right click on it, then you come down to look for floating. So it's floating. So you can drag the country, and let's put it here let's put it by here. And also you can drag the legend. You can float it. When you float it, you can put it anywhere you want. You can put it by the side of it. Then you drag it a little bit. New COVID cases. Let's move this a little bit. So right now this space here is empty, so you can close it. To close it now, you have a little bit more space here for your thing. So right now, this is your dashboard. You have a nice looking dashboard here, which is really cool. This thing has a format here. I don't like the border lines there. So you come in and go to border lines and you just check all the buttons here, and the border lines should disappear. Let me see. Yeah, the border lines for the region is gone. So right now, you can come, if you want to change the sheet for the whole data set, you can go to worksheet. Yeah, when you go to worksheet, it's already open. You can go to shading. You can see, oh, you have to click on a particular one. This one allows you to do worksheet by worksheet, worksheet by worksheet. You have to shade them. I want to do all of it by the same, do it really quickly. So you can go to layout. When you go to layout, it's asking you to do background color. So you can click on layout and just do, oh, no, I don't want the background color for that. So what I need to do is to click on the entire sheet. So click on the entire sheet. When you click on the entire sheet, you go to background. You can choose a background for all of it. Oh, it's not going for, there is a reason why the background is not changing for all of it, is because we didn't put, there's a whole thing that create containers. The best way to do is to create something called containers that will allow you to change everything for all of it at once. But this is also another way to change the background. So you can, if you want it, you can do it background by background. You come here, background, and you change it to the background that you want. 10 minutes. Let's do none. Let's do background for the whole thing. Let's do none. So there's no background here. Let's do borders. Let's change the borders to tick line. The borders for all of it, a tick line. And let's give it a dark green and a tick line, which is looking really cool. Oh, let's do this color. And let's do really tick line. That is, you want to add a little bit of design to it. So that is how you do it. Does the filter works for all visualization? Yes, the filter work for all visualization. That is what I did here, is to click on the country, then you say apply to worksheet. You say apply to worksheet, then you tell Tableau to use, click on using this data. So that is like all the chart that you've created here using data, this data set. If you click on it, then it connects all of them. If you click on just the selected one, it does, or using related data sources. So because I click on all using this data source, all of them are coming from the same data source. So what it happens is that because I click on it, when I click on Benin, it now gives me the map of Benin. It's telling me that Benin is in West Africa and this is the trend. So Benin didn't really have a lot of COVID cases. And also you could see that the table has given me the total figure for Benin. So that is how it works out. This is really cool. So right now we want to change. I don't like this bar here. So because the bar here, you don't really want it, you have to change the font size. You go to format and change the font size, because it was 14, you probably 12, probably change it to 11 and see if it wouldn't disappear, because It wouldn't go away because of. Yeah, you can make it. Let me see. Let me make it. Let me make this fit the width. So because, so you see this bar is here. I don't really like this bar. That means that if you want to look at the label, you have to be dragging it back and forth. So you go up on top here and click on standard and you say, let it fit the width. So if it fit the width, the bar disappear completely. Then you have your thing going for you. So the other thing is that if you want a background color for the whole thing, you can do it manually. That is, click on every space. Click on it. Yeah, if you click on every space, it allow you to format. Here you can format the title, you can format the thing, you can format everything. So here I want the background. I want background colors for all of it. So right click on this and just go to format. Or the other thing is that, let me just click on format. I just want to format the whole table. Then you go to sheet. It's not allowing me to format the entire sheet. So you have to do it pane by pane. So let me take this background on the light side. So that is like the downside of this, is because I didn't do something that I wanted to do. That is called I didn't allow Tableau to create so I want to format the whole thing. I didn't create a container. There's a way of creating a container. In the future, I'll be able to show it really well. For now, we are running out of time. Here, let me go. So here, this background is not changing. So the best thing is you come back to layer and tell it to change the background to the same color. Here, the background, you go to layer, tell it to change it to the same color. The same thing here. So if I had created a container, creating a container is like, it's so easy. It's just, let me change this back and I'll show you how to create a container. Okay. Let me go back to layer and do background. So right now, all the background, everything is, you could see that everything is, the colors are looking the same. But you can see there are these white lines here. All these lines, if I don't want it, the best thing to do is go to here and click on the entire thing and tell it to give it a background color of the same. Then all the lines will disappear. So right now your Tableau is looking really great. The reason why I'm doing this manually is that I didn't create a container. There is a way. Let me show you. Let me create another dashboard. The way to create a container is that you put in a blank space here. So when I put in a blank space here, then I can put this on top of it, right? If you put in a blank space here before asking Tableau to put all these things there, it allows you to change everything at once, right? So in that case, you come back to layer, you click on that blank space here and say background color. So right now, if you do that, everything changes automatically by itself. So that is how you create a container to do Tableau, so that you don't have to change the colors every pane by pane. All you need to do is to just click on the entire thing, and because you see the background is like is a dark is a color. So I have the backgrounds, a blank space here, and I want to change the color to say this color. So anytime I put any of them here, because this one has been changed. If I change this, it will change. If I don't have the format of this here, we'll just pick the blank space automatically. So right now, our dashboard looks clean. Is there any question? If you have any question, there's the time to tell me so that I'll show you how to publish this also on Tableau. Any questions? Okay, there's no question. So right now, because you are using, this is a free version of Tableau, it doesn't allow you to save this directly on your desktop. What it does is that it allows you to actually save it on the Tableau online, actually a Tableau server. So because you've created an account, you have to create an account with Tableau online to be able to do this. Right. So to do this, I'm coming. So to do this, you go to File and you say that Save to Tableau Public, Save to Tableau Public As, because we've already opened the Tableau Public. So when you do Save to Tableau Public As right now, Save to Tableau Public As, and you open it, it's asking you to sign in. Peter, what is your password? You don't know it. So you have to sign in. So you have to sign in. It's so hard. Okay. You have to sign in. Let me see if it works. I don't remember my password. I don't remember my password because I use a password manager. So when you sign in here, it should take you to Tableau automatically. Let me see. It should bring you to Tableau automatically, your resource. Here, it should show my profile. So when you sign in here, this is what it should show. It should bring you here. If it brings you here, it's going to ask you for the titles and everything. And here is the online version. Now you can go back here and edit it. If you want, you can edit the whole thing here. You can work here. You can edit the titles. You can edit everything. This is not the one we just created because I don't really remember the password for this. So when it brings you here, you just have to say publish. So when you publish it, it will publish it for you. Then you close it. Then anytime you go to your my profile, it shows you your VIX. And here you can see that this VIX is hidden from the public eye, right? This is because you don't want anyone to see what you've done. This is another one that we've done. You don't want anyone to see what you've done. So you can go in and do settings. If you go to settings, right? If you don't want anyone, because this one is saying that show VIX on, when you go here, you will see that it's saying that all of it's hidden from your profile. So if I look for Leaders of Africa on Tableau, I would see the name Leaders of Africa, but I wouldn't see any of the visualization they've done because it's hidden from the public. So the other way to do this, if you want to hide your thing from the public, you come to settings. It's asking you show VIX on profile. So if you click on it and anyone goes there, they can see access show sheet. Show sheet means that allow other people to be able to download it and have access to it. If you want to show the sheet, the sheets that you work in, the ones that you created, like the COVID-19 by region, by bar, by this, and your dashboard, that is what it's saying show sheet is. And here, allow others to download it. Like if I want other people to download the work that I've done, and I click on it, give them access to it. If I do not, they will not be able to download it. So right now, everything is checked. Let's go back to the profile. My profile. So if you see here, the I thing that is there is hidden, is gone. So here, when I open it again, and I come down here to this the download button here, and I click on it, I can download it in image. I can download the data set. I can download it in Crosstab and also the workbook. And if you download in workbook, that means people will have access to all the things that you've done. And I don't want that. So you go back here and say, no, I don't want anyone to download it. I don't want the sheet to show. And I don't want, if you want to make everything confidential, you don't want anyone to see it. So if I go back and look for Leaders of Africa in Tableau Public, I'll see Leaders of Africa, but I'll not be able to access any of these things. I'm able to access this here because I'm already in the document, so I'm able to download it. But if you are not in the document and you are looking, let's sign out here. Let me sign out here and look for sign out. So Leaders of Africa. So you see, I'm in Tableau Public. You look for Leaders of Africa. Click on authors. That is the best way to see Leaders of Africa. So this is Leaders of Africa. So you see that it's showing that Leaders of Africa has zero visualization. This is because I don't want any of the things that I did to show in public. And this one is very important, especially if you are working with a company data set and the company doesn't have a Tableau like desktop. This is the best way to hide it from the public. But if you're working for your company, most companies have like the licensed one, like the desktop one that allow you to see the data and also not make the data public, because some data set are very sensitive. I work for an organization. We don't want our data set to be made public. So we get a paid version, and that allows us to be able to work on it and save it on the desktop. So this is the end of the section, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'll pass it over to Peter. I'll pass it over to Peter, and Peter will okay, I'll be here. Jesus sake.
All right. All right. Sounds great. Thanks, Eva. So I'm going to turn on our camera here again, because we've got a few more things to kind of go through here. Let's put ourselves there. There we go. All right. So we want to thank you for joining today's session. Obviously, our discussions today, both at the beginning of the session that I led, that section, as well as the section that Eva led today, is just the beginning of getting into Tableau, right? There's so many other features that you can explore in a kind of an expansive look at Tableau and all the different tools that it has to offer. I just want to share one other set of thoughts here, because Eva briefly alluded to this, which was the real-time data component. And then I want to talk about some opportunities for you, scholarship opportunities as well. So let me pull that up here. I'm going to share my screen again, kind of reset everything here. There we go. All right. So one of the other features of Tableau that you may want to explore in further study is its ability to, pipe in data that's coming out from a database that's updated on a regular basis. So say you want to keep your data visualization or dashboard current, and a lot of companies and organizations want to do that. Well, you're able to publish real-time data by tapping into databases. But there are some key things to just keep in mind when you do that. It's obviously a good thing to do, but you need to make sure that you have clarity about the timing and release of what data is present on your data dashboard, often what we call a data dump. You want to make sure that you're transparent in terms of how the data is being monitored as it's being included in your data visualization, because the key part here is that you want to make sure if things are automatically going into your data visualization that it is accurate, and that you vetted the data, because there may be problems with the data. And once it goes live on your data visualization, it goes live to the public, and the public finds out that there were inaccuracies, and that's going to call into question your data visualization project. And that's why it's really important that you have those pieces built in. I'll show you one real-time database related to some of the work that Eva was mentioning in her tutorial, which is the COVID-19 data. This is COVID-19 around the world, and this is a data dashboard that uses real-time data from Johns Hopkins University on number of COVID deaths, cases, as well as vaccine doses administered. This is a live updated dashboard, and you can see I actually updated this slide just yesterday, so November 8th at 10:21 p.m. local time. And one of the nice features of this data visualization is that it includes the actual time it was updated, because you want to, in communicating real-time updates, tell them when it was last current. Because if you just show that data and you say this is real-time data, people don't know whether that just updated a second ago or it updated a week ago or a month ago. So you see how they've included that information there. And it updates immediately when other data comes in on a regular basis. They push that data into the visualization, and the visualization remains fresh and current, something that we like. You can do that for states across the United States, and so on and so forth. And the process of doing that is as follows. That data gets uploaded to the cloud, it gets stored in the cloud, and then it gets pulled down by Tableau to then therefore update that data. Right? It's that process of sending the data up, right? Once we collect the data, we send it up, it goes into that server and that database, and then it gets inputted back into Tableau, and then you can update it and set intervals for updating your figures. The last thing I want to reflect on is the thing that Eva mentioned in her section, focus on sort of data storytelling, very briefly, which is that in designing your data dashboards, you really want to be telling a story with the data. And that means when your dashboard is being created, focusing on, if you think back to the beginning of the session, big picture issues like the big question and framing the question and sort of key background data on that. And then you want to have opportunities to delve deeper in the data throughout your visualization, sort of starting big or macro or global or countrywide statistics, depending on what your the thing is that you're researching, going down to more local or fine-grained data, all the way down to really fine-grained data on a certain subject. So you want to make sure your data visualization or data dashboard has that flow from the big picture to the smaller picture, right? And I want to show just one example of this, and this is the last case study we'll review before we conclude today, which is dashboards and water. In South Africa, in particular, the city of Cape Town, there was a water crisis. They were actually facing a period of time where they actually anticipated that they would run out of water for the entire community. So to enhance people's compliance with using less water, they created a dashboard. And the beginning of the dashboard, they gave some basic statistics about the water usage of the city of Cape Town, South Africa. And that's what you're seeing here. But another part of their data configuration, their dashboard, was specific data on every single household's usage of water, so that you could see how much you were using and how much your neighbors were using. And the purpose of doing this was to apply a little bit of peer pressure to your neighbors. So if you knew your neighbors were a water hog, and you saw others were not in your neighborhood, it provided that healthy peer pressure for everyone to lower their water intake and to prevent the city from hitting day zero or running out of water, literally running out of water. Well, fortunately, this strategy really worked. People looked at that. Every little dot here on this visualization is an individual house, right? And whether they used more or less of this sort of threshold of water. And it worked. And they actually avoided, as a city, despite all the challenges and the droughts, the day zero from occurring. You can see more data visualizations there. So the key thing to emphasize here is that despite learning all these tools at Tableau, which you can go into greater depth, as Eva mentioned in her part of the tutorial, there is so much more that we can do with data visualizations that we can do, and also more stories that we can tell. And that's what this is all about. And so on your screen, you can see a great opportunity from the Leaders of Africa Institute. That is our organization that's sponsoring today's session. And we want to encourage you to apply. This course, the Data plus Design for Development program, is open for applications. It relies on design fundamentals, and it focuses on data visualization in Datawrapper, Tableau, which we discussed today, Power BI, Flourish, and involves you creating an actual capstone project at a high and in-depth level with individual and personalized mentorship. Programs at the Institute are fairly small, so you get that personalized support. We are offering 3 full impact scholarships, so complete scholarships to attendees to this conference. So when you apply, please make sure to tick that box to say that you were here at the African Digital Skills Conference. I'm going to put up those links to the program now, including social media links to the Leaders of Africa Institute. So I'm adding those in the chat. I've shared those at the beginning of today's session, but I'm repeating them there in case you weren't there. All right, so we're going to see those in the chat. So we really encourage you to go to the website and apply. It's a straightforward process. You need to provide a CV and a 500-word statement. It is a competitive process to get into any program at the Leaders of Africa Institute. And those who have been in this program, as well as others, have gone on to get very fantastic jobs or additional employment. Some have even been hired by employers, including some of the major organizations around the world outside of their home country. So there is a lot of opportunities that this fellowship and this program has to offer. I'm going to play a very short 2-minute video here, just a promo, and then I will conclude today's session as you're checking that out. Feel free, if there are any other thoughts or questions, to share those in the chat while this is playing. And then Eva and I will say goodbye. Hold on one moment. Let me cue that up. All right, let me play this through. I'm going to play this through the video, so I'm going to pull this down.
It's a tool that we use to communicate. That's how I see design, and that's what it should be. Because we are not making these things for ourselves. If we understand the impact that these visualizations that we create make, and whoever we talk to, we are talking to the people who hold people's lives and policies and people's future at their hands. As the population is increasing, the food insecurity rate is also increasing. And they were really showing the graphs, and you could actually see that over time it is getting worse and worse and worse and worse. So it's something that needs to be addressed. And you have a big chunk of people, most of the youth, who are not employed. So if all these things were put together and integrated, then this would result into finding solutions and also still creating opportunities. And at the end of the day, we have enough food, because food is a basic need. I wanted to make designs, like data designs, that stood out and tell better stories and make the stories accessible. After joining the Leaders of Africa Institute for this particular class, Design for Development class, it changed my perspective. Met various people from all over the continent, and this amazing team of Leaders of Africa Institute, amazing facilitators we have right here with us. And so this one gave me the confidence to even explore these tools more. You must really be willing to spend a lot of, give in a lot of hours to these particular tools and to tell the stories that you're trying to tell. So the Institute has really helped me. It has made me, first of all, it made me know a lot of people in Africa, the people who we were in the class with, and it taught me a lot design and data. And also the class taught me that, all the problems that lie around us, all these are just opportunities that are waiting for someone to pick them up and, provide solutions to them and turn them into success stories.
So we really encourage you to apply to the program. This is a wonderful opportunity. That's Ezra Otieno, who's from Kenya, who is part of this past cohort of scholars. So I'm going to put up that information one more time. Eva, would you like to say a quick goodbye as we conclude today's session?
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you find this to be impactful. The best way to learn is to practice it on your own, and also ask questions if you have. One of the ways to reach out to us is through the links that Peter has provided in case you have any question or want to know more about the program, or you have questions related to the section we did here today. Just shoot us a message on LinkedIn, Facebook, and any of the social media platform that we are available there. And Peter has provided the information, and we'll be happy to assist you in the best way we can. So it's been a pleasure meeting you, and it's a pleasure sharing what I know with you. And I hope to see you in the Data Plus Design course in January.
Yeah, absolutely. One last notice, there's one more session sponsored by the Leaders of Africa Institute, and that is tomorrow at the same time, 12 p.m. GMT. So if you're interested in digital documentaries, audio storytelling, so multimedia production, or telling stories using some of those formats, not data visualization, but using some of those formats, please join us for that session tomorrow at 12 p.m. GMT. That is digital documentaries and audio storytelling for impact. That's the last session sponsored by the Leaders of Africa Institute. So with that, I want to thank you all for joining us today, wherever you are joining us from Ghana and as well as elsewhere. We're really happy to be with you. And again, please keep in touch with the Leaders of Africa Institute, and enjoy the rest of your day and evening. Take care, and bye-bye.